Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, thanks for stopping by. Today we are going to be working on this Mama Distressed Cheetah tumbler. I'm so excited. I love the way it came out. We are working with the designer box from Diamonds and Dust for June. I am working on a 20-ounce straight tumbler from the tumbler supply store, and I did want to mention that this decal did not come in the designer box. I've had it for a while. It came from AB Designs Co., but as soon as I saw this pattern vinyl, I knew that it would pair perfectly with this decal, so I wanted to work with them together. I kind of had a vision in my mind already when I started this tumbler, so the first thing I did was take the decal and measure where I wanted to put it because it's going over the vinyl in a way you'll see at the end, but I wanted to make sure that I cut the vinyl large enough to give a good base for the decal. So I trimmed that off on my paper trimmer, trimmed off all of the little white areas, and then just wrapped that around the top of the tumbler. I just wrapped it the same way I do any other vinyl wrap, except I didn't have any overhang over the top rim this time. I just lined it up so there was a slight silver showing, so that way I didn't have to trim anything off, and that was it. And then I wanted a lot of the pink to show from this vinyl, so I tried not to cut too much of the pink off so that I can kind of highlight some of the pink area to match the decal, and then I have some vinyl striping going on, so all the pink will tie together. There was no pink glitter in this box, so I wanted to bring in some of the pink elements to tie it all in together. So here I am just trimming off a little of the backing, and then I'm going to press down the exposed vinyl, and then before I fully wrap it, I'm going to double make sure that it's still lined up straight, and then I'm just going to peel back a little of the backing and then use my squeegee tool to push, and as you push down on the vinyl, the backing comes off by itself. It makes it so much easier, and I just do a little on the left, a little on the right, and it usually has not many problems with bubbles, so that's great. And if you do get a bubble, I just take my X-Acto knife, a sharp X-Acto knife, poke a hole in it, and then it's good. Then because the pattern was kind of busy, instead of trimming it in a straight line, I did this little zigzag line, but in hindsight, it doesn't really matter because a lot of it gets covered up anyway. So anyways, then I trimmed off the top rim just to make sure that it was a nice clean trim. And then these are the glitter colors we're going to be using, and I forgot to record, but I had no saran wrap or anything, and I was low on painter's tape, so I just used a piece of notebook paper, covered up the top of the vinyl portion, and then took my cup outside and spray painted these three colors to match the glitter. And I'm going to be doing an ombre with the three colors that came in the designer box. I almost went with one, but I'm so glad I went with all of them because they blended beautifully. So I epoxied some cups, and then I just had barely any left over in this mixing cup, and I just applied that to the bottom portion of the tumbler where the paint is, and then I'm going to go in and ombre these glitters together. I did green on top, the blue in the middle, and then the purple on the bottom. Because it's such a small section, I did not want a lot of epoxy on here. I literally just put that tiny bit on and then smoothed it all the way around, wiped some off, and then patted it down. I don't want anything to get pulled up, so I tried to just barely have any epoxy on there, just enough to hold on this glitter. It is a little bit on the chunkier side for this, so that will be a perfect amount to just hang on to that glitter. To start my ombre, I just went in with very light coverage to begin with, so I just barely covered the same coordinating color section with that glitter. So I just did a light dusting of the green, a light dusting of the blue, and then the same with the purple, and then that is essentially how we build that ombre. So I went in with all the colors, and then I went back in and started over. Started with the green, went a little bit heavier, back in with the blue, a little bit heavier, and when I went in with the blue, I am tilting the cup so that the blue will fall into the green, and then tilting it the other direction so the blue will fall into the purple. And same thing when I did the green, I tilted the cup so it falls into the blue, and the purple, I tilted the cup so that it falls into the blue. Once I was really happy with the way the chunky glitter ombre and faded together, I went in with a smaller cut of each color that was very similar to the chunky. So for this green, I used Radical, and I did the same thing. I just ombre'd it into each other right on top of the chunkier glitter. I used Radical for the green and then Totally Tubular for the blue and the purple. It is a little bit lighter, but it all blended in really well, and that one was Lavender Lust, and it just helped fill in any gaps that might be there because of the chunkier glitter. So once I was all done with the glittering, I removed that tape immediately because we don't want the epoxy to dry with that tape on there, because then that creates all kinds of a mess. Then I took my notebook paper and I just rolled the tumbler on there. It just helps flatten all the glitter, so it makes it less work in the end trying to cover all these chunky glitters with epoxy. I did have a few stragglers on the very bottom rim, so I just took my finger and pressed those in and they were good. And then I didn't get a video, but I got this beautiful picture, and I just love these colors together. They blended so well. They look beautiful together. So after that, I took it outside. After it was done drying with the epoxy, I took it outside and sprayed it with Rust-Oleum's clear glossy spray paint to just seal them all together, and then it got a coat of epoxy, and then we're going to tape off the glitter portion of this tumbler now because we're going to be working on the top half. Because it was such a small area, I just went ahead and used the painter's tape to cover up all of that glitter portion. And don't forget the bottom, because you do not want any of the spray paint overage to get on the bottom. After that was all covered up, I just took it outside and sprayed it with Rust-Oleum's flat black spray paint. Not a super heavy coverage, but just enough to cover the entire area. Once that tape was all covered up, I just took it outside and sprayed a coat of flat black spray paint over it. I let that dry completely, and then I took it outside and did a light power wash with white. And I say light as in light power wash coverage, not light paint. I didn't want a lot of that black to show, but I just wanted that little bit of texture from having a little bit of the power wash on there. So sprayed that with white flat paint as well. And then I let that dry completely, and then I brought it inside, and we're going to use acetone and a paper towel and wipe away portions of that paint to expose the pattern vinyl underneath. This is such a fun technique to really give it a distressed, grungy look. Now, it looks like a hot mess right now with all the black just kind of smearing, but it does clean up better. A lot of the black does kind of get onto the white, but for me, I'm okay with that. I like the look, but if you want it pure white, then maybe do just white, or don't do such a dark color underneath. It's essentially just giving it like a two-tone distressed mark. But I just went around all over the tumbler, giving it kind of just different spots. And then I took my decal and wanted to line it up where I was going to put it because I didn't want to make any of the exposed distress marks underneath this decal. So I lined it up, knew where I was going to put it, and then kind of marked it so I knew not to go beyond that spot. Finished up with all of these distress spots, and then after that, you take a fresh, clean paper towel and use 91% rubbing alcohol, and you go back over the same spots on the edges, and it helps clean up that black edge mess a ton. It does kind of give a gray tone to the white area, but like I said, I don't mind that. I think it adds to the distressy element of the look. Once I had that all cleaned up and looking sharp, I removed all the tape, and then it's going to get a coat of epoxy before we move on to the next step. The reason we gave it a coat of epoxy is because we want this decal to have a glossy, smooth surface to apply to. Now, here's the moment where I almost went, what the heck was I thinking? Because I trimmed it, went to apply it, and I thought where it says Mama, the inside of those Mama letters was white on this decal. I didn't realize that they were clear. So I put it on, instantly thought, oh my gosh, I don't like this. You can't really see it. So I pulled it back off, took it outside. I only had flat spray paint, so I sprayed a bleach spot and then let that dry, and then sprayed clear glossy spray paint, 2 thin coats over it to give it a glossy surface, and then applied the decal, and it was perfect. The bleach spot doesn't take away from the design. I just did it right where the decal was going to be because I didn't want to cover up any of those distress spots, and it was perfect. It gave the exact look that I was going for in the end. I had one tiny little bubble that I got when I applied the decal, so I just took my X-Acto knife, poked it, and smoothed out that air bubble, and it was perfect. So then we're going to move right into the striping on the line where the glitter meets the vinyl. So I just took a little bit thicker black line. Now, I don't remember the exact dimensions of how thick I made it, but what I usually do is just cut a few sizes and then put on what I like best when I'm working on the tumbler. So I applied that black, and then I had this shimmer pink vinyl from Hobby Lobby that matched perfectly. So I just cut that thinner and put that right in the center of that black stripe. Now, I really wanted to tie in one last time all of the elements together, and on the decal in the little lightning bolt, there are cheetah spots. So I thought it would be perfect to add cheetah spots to the bottom portion over the glitter. So after I applied this pink stripe, I went in with some black cheetah spots and placed those all over the glitter area. I like to hand place all of my cheetah spots. I find it relaxing, and then I can get the perfect spacing, the perfect direction for each one to face. I don't know. I like doing it by hand. So I just went in and put all of them wherever I felt that they looked best. After I placed all of those cheetah spots, I went in and coated the entire thing with some polyacrylic. Now, in hindsight, this pink vinyl on the stripe, it still ran with the polyacrylic. So if I were to do it again, I would spray it with Rust-Oleum's clear glossy spray paint before that, then coat it with polyacrylic, and then epoxy. It doesn't look terrible that it ran up a little into the last A on the Mama decal. I mean, it all ties it all in together, but if I would have known that it was going to run, I would have done it differently. After that, it got 2 final coats of medium viscosity epoxy from Counterculture DIY. Side note, I am now an affiliate with them. I'm so excited. I've been using them for years, but there will be a discount code listed down in the description box for you to use next time you shop with them. I hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope that if I have inspired you in any way, you will give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing to my channel. Don't forget, if you hit the little bell, it will notify you every time I upload a new video. And all of the information and products I use will be listed down in the description box. And thank you so much again for stopping by. I will see you next week. Thanks. Bye, y'all.